The further I get into entrepreneurship, the more and more I realize how important it is to detach what you do or what you say from how you feel, particularly in reaction to a situation or maybe a person who makes you frustrated. It's very normal in entrepreneurship, especially in the beginning, where there's lots of frustration. In fact, that probably never goes away. In the skill of how to build a company, so much of it is reliant on your ability to lead. And so much of your ability to lead is dependent upon how you act and what you do and what you say when you inevitably become frustrated. And learning to manage your emotions is such a crucial part of building. And so if you want to build a business, you have to learn how to manage your emotions. And this is top of mind for me right now because there seem to be situation after situation that continue to occur that have the potential to invoke an emotion, and understanding what to do and how to process that emotion so that you can respond in a way that either your business or the future version of yourself is going to get utility out of is incredibly important. And in the end of this, I'm going to share a framework with you that I am applying to me to ensure that I respond or act or say something that is going to provide utility to the future version of me or to the future version of my business, as opposed to just let my emotions fly off the handle. Who am I? My name is Ryan Rice. I'm a full-time real estate investor. I have been doing this for about 4 years. And I've been building teams ever since I started in my professional career. My background before real estate was in retail, and I've led very large teams and have a lot of experience working through and navigating leadership. There was a situation this past week that occurred that was just one reason of why I wanted to make this, but I think it's a really good example. And I'll use that example and turn it into a framework for you guys. I had a contractor who we just wrapped up a job, and there was a lot of tense situation throughout this job because, long story short, I renovated a house that I don't own, and the owner actually lived in the house while we renovated it, and this is the first time I'd ever done something like that. So there were some learnings the first time the contractor had ever done something like that. And there were some situations that occurred that could have been handled differently. And towards the end of this project, the contractor got emotional about something and sent a paragraph of emotion. And I'll just leave it at that. And in the moment, what I wanted to do was fill in or correct all of the gaps in the story of this paragraph because there were many flawed perspectives, there were assumptions made, etc., etc. And for me, the trigger for these types of events or emotions, my chest gets tight, and the very first thing I want to do is just respond and correct all of the facts that are misguided. But I stopped for a moment and I asked myself, what do I want to occur as a result of my response? And when I asked myself that question, whether or not she was right or I was right was irrelevant. What I wanted to occur was I actually just needed to keep focusing on what was going to be most important in my business at that moment, which was not conveying any of my emotion to this particular situation. And so what did I end up doing? I actually waited. And what was interesting about that is hours and hours went by and I had other things pop up that I needed to take care of. And then all of the emotion that was initially invoked when I read this paragraph, it dissipated. And I was able to respond in a way that was very different than how I would have responded. The tone was just different. And this may sound silly, but I think it's important because when we're building, we're constantly either interacting with our team, with vendors. If we're building a business, then we're growing, and part of growth is there's going to be a lot of people that you interact with. And if you have a very high bar or a very high standard of excellence, then when people don't live up to that, there's going to be potential for you to get frustrated at that situation. And what I've learned is what you do and how you act when that frustration occurs is going to determine how other people act, which in the end is going to determine the outcomes of your business, if those other people are crucial to the future operation of your business. And I wanted to make this just because there seem to be constant situations that arise where something occurs. I have that tight feeling in my chest, and I have a desire to want to correct something very quickly or respond or make sure that people understand that they are not right. And what I've learned is that it just doesn't really matter, because when I ask myself, what do I want to occur as a result of this response? It's just a very helpful, like that question provides a lot of utility because it very much dictates the content of the interaction. And I think what most people do is when they're frustrated, they very quickly act or say something. And what I've discovered is most useful is to just let some time pass, ask what do you want to occur from the situation, and then your focus can get back on what is actually important. So the framework that I've used for this, and I think the way for this to be helpful for you is you have to identify the trigger, right? Because when you feel frustrated, you have to identify what is that trigger that I feel, and then that trigger is going to be what helps you apply this framework. And so for me, here's the framework. My trigger is my chest gets tight and I feel a rush of wanting to respond quickly and make sure that I correct all of the misguided facts, or whatever the source of that frustration, I want to address it very, very urgently with the good intent of fixing the situation. But that's my trigger, right? My chest gets tight. I feel this rush of wanting to communicate. And here's the 3-step framework for me that works. And it's 3 W's. Wait. Ask myself, what do I want to occur as a result? And then ask myself, what will give future me utility? Or it could be your future business. So 3 very simple W's. All right. A frustration point occurs. Identify what your trigger is. Once you see or identify that trigger has occurred, then just apply the 3 W's. You wait. You ask, what do I want to occur as a result? And you ask, what will give future me utility? And it's very simple. And in every single scenario for me, those 3 W's change my behavior from what I would have done. And it's become a much more productive way for me to act or react when a situation occurs that I'm not super thrilled with. And it may sound silly, but when you're building and when you're honing your leadership skills, what you say and what you do in a period of tense or frustrating moment is going to dictate how people respond to you. And it's going to, in the end, it's going to dictate your ability to actually build. So very short and sweet, but I simply wanted to share the framework that has worked for me. And if you do get frustrated or emotional about something, then in most cases, what you feel that you first want to do is likely not the thing that's actually going to give you some utility. So trigger occurs, you wait, you ask yourself, what do I want to occur as a result? And you ask yourself, what will give me future utility? So I hope that was helpful for any of you that are building right now. I'm sure you are going through points of frustration, and if this can help serve as a reminder on something that can actually move your business forward or maybe move your leadership forward, then I feel like then we both won here. So appreciate you guys. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.